I was actually on Twitch, twitch.tv/Lore Reloaded. I was breaking down a video done by Renegade Cuts discussing my thoughts on it and such as that. And like you say, and next to it, as long as it's live. Some people actually have tipped offline, like when the video is video on demand, not when I'm doing a live stream, and gotten really mad at me because it didn't say it, but I wasn't live. It has to be live for that to happen, just so you guys know. But yeah, let's break it down. I tried joining your live stream on Twitch, but no idea how to work it. If you were the one to send me an email, I was going to respond to you, but I'm not completely sure how it works either. I am completely new to Twitch as well. I like the Twitch layout a lot better. It definitively beats YouTube. But I don't know all of the inner workings of it yet. We got Sydney Fine, Lacutus, BurgerLord99. How you doing? Adam of Grayskull, always a pleasure. I'm gonna be honest with you guys. I'm gonna completely level. One of my the things I did on my YouTube community tab, I got triggered. It's rare, but it will and can in fact happen. So when I did, it was about a day ago, I said, okay, guys, remember, remove any hatred and vitriol as objective as you can. Who makes the better argument that Star Trek is leftist or anti-right? And it was between Renegade Cuts and Steve Shives. And not only did a lot of people get really angry and attack both when that really wasn't what I was asking, but some were like, oh my God, look at your audience. They're all right. All you're doing is cultivating Nazis. Really tells you something about who is watching you. Oh man. Oh dude. First off, I do think that entertainers have a little bit of responsibility to who they do and don't empower. I know that's not a popular opinion, especially among the more right-leaning, but I do feel like there's a little bit of responsibility. But beyond that, there's no way you could look at my content and say that. At best, especially since there was a lot of left-leaning arguments there, you could say that people feel comfortable enough within reason to give their opinions, which I actually think is great. But, yeah. So to that point, I said, you know what? I wonder if, there's a child that just ran past. I wonder if there was a time when a Starfleet officer ever was intolerant of other people's ideas. And when thinking about it, doing a little bit of research, it seemed to me, and I'm open to this conversation, did Sisko become intolerant of the Maquis? Matt Calder, hey Lore, first stream I've watched in forever. Welcome, Matt Calder. I knew you were going to watch it, so I figured I would do this right here for you. What's interesting to me, because I went back and I rewatched the key points of specifically Sisko's interaction with the Maquis. So I looked at his first, discussion, of course, the famous line about how it's paradise on Earth.
IDM 654,321 tipped $20. This is to fund your anything that will keep this show going as long as possible.
Well, thanks. I will definitively continue funding it for as long as possible. So interestingly, going back to what I was saying, thank you so much, by the way. If you want to put it towards anything, just let me know. Email me at james@lorereload.com, and I'll see if I can get that project out. Interestingly enough, he was actually very pro-Maquis at the beginning. He understood where they were coming from. He understood why they were getting mad. He even talked about how on the frontier you can't be a saint. That you can be a Federation citizen, but you cannot be a saint because you're not in a world that will allow that. Then we had Cal Hudson, and then we had Eddington, and he 100% changed. He never outright completely says it, but he starts blaming everyone for the acts of a few and starts taking it out on everyone, which seems very in line with some of the comments on both sides that I saw on my community post. That everyone that was X is that way. It's just the way it is. It's interesting to me when you by the way, again, thank you so much for the support. When you look at that mentality, and it even can you put that tip towards shaving your eyebrows, says Lacu. Nope, had to be in there. It wasn't in there, unfortunately. Can't do it. Also, I don't know that I'll ever shave my eyebrows, but for $200 I might shave my head. What was I saying, man? I just lost my thing. After Eddington and after Cal, I think he lost his ability to not other the Maquis. A lot of people get upset about this because they're like, well, he was bombing Maquis colonies and they were obviously all terrorist colonies. First off, I think there's a good argument to say that they weren't. But let's assume for the sake of argument that every Maquis colony he was about to attack was a known terrorist colony. A colony, and that's what they called it. They called it a colony. So let's see, colony definition. A colony is a country or area under the full or partial political control of another country, typically a distant one, and occupied by settlers from that country, a group of people of one nationality or ethnic group living in a foreign city or country. So that's the definition of a quote-unquote colony. Let's assume, for the sake of argument, that a colony is exactly as presented. Let's just assume that. A colony has women, it has men, and most likely children. He is using a device, a quantum torpedo, a device designed to kill Borg, to neutralize colonies. Are you telling me every one of these colonies 100% agreed with what Eddington was doing? Every man, woman, and child on every one of these colonies agreed with him, was helping him, and was putting it forward. And if you, by the way, thank you so much, Armando, for becoming a member. It helps out more than you think. Also, my video is done, and for tomorrow, my video that's coming out tomorrow is actually there right now, so you can go and take a look at it, see it before anyone else does. Are you telling me that all of those people agreed? And if they did not agree, then Sisko is lumping them in simply because of an ideological opinion. So chew on that. Aurora, you're sighing. Why are you sighing? Chakotay was an indigenous American, and his ancestors were referred to as a few times. Okay, Aurora. I'm not sure where we're going with that, but irony of irony, Sisko hates the Maquis but helps the Cardassians. It makes you wonder, what if the Cardassians and Bajorans were ancient cousins? I've heard someone say that. I haven't ever looked at the video. I think there's a video out about that, but I haven't seen it yet. Yeah, Armando and Matt, thanks for supporting the channel. If you go to community, you should now see new posts that are members only. If you go there, you can see tomorrow's video early. You'll notice it is having to do with this video too. Those evil separatist toddlers that had abandoned the glory of the Federation deserve to be wiped off the map. Yeah, that's one way of looking at it. That's my thing. And so here's the thing I love about Star Trek, though. Here's the thing. Someone said it, and they put it on that actual thread, because there was a lot of intelligent responses on that thread. But one of them says that it was ambiguous enough. A lot of it is ambiguous enough that everyone can relate to it. And they really do, whether they meant to or not, address most every social issue that has occurred. I don't think at any point they meant to make Sisko bigoted in that. But they did. But I don't think they meant to. But because they did, it allowed us to look at how he treated these people and now have the discussion about it. That's what I enjoy about Star Trek. That is top tier. That is just top tier Star Trek science fiction. It's one of the things I love about Babylon 5. It's just so sweet when they can do these conversations. E.C. Henry did a video. Yeah, I guess I forget who it was, but that sounds about right. I like E.C. Me and E.C. Henry talk. We actually support each other on Patreon. For the most part, I like E.C. Henry. I don't agree with everything he does. I'd love to do a collaboration with him, but both he and I are just too busy for it. What if there are more dinosaurs that survived Earth's past, like the Voth? Then I guess I would hope that they would not want to destroy the Earth like the Voth do. The problem with the Maquis is they aren't evil. The squeaky clean Federation can't handle the fact that the Maquis aren't obedient little serfs that do what Starfleet says. Yeah, and they're just so disconnected. So if you look at the Admiral Nechayev, she expects them to act like her, and that's why people can't understand why Federation officers would join the Maquis. They really got a raw deal. You know, the one thing I will say, Admiral Nechayev says, we never should have let those people stay on the Cardassian side. If you're going to do it, if you're going to do what they did, if you're going to sign a treaty with the Cardassians saying, all right, you can have these specific planets, then absolutely those people have to leave or lose their citizenship and become Cardassian citizens that you have nothing to do with. I mean, they cannot be Starfleet citizens, or you forcibly remove them. I know Journey's End, they tried to make it, all of a sudden they tried to make... I know in Journey's End they try to make it specific to moving like the Trail of Tears and things like that. But first off, it's not the same situation. But beyond that, it's something that has to be done. There's no way. This is untenable, as they show. The stream elements makes no sense. Want to change? Oh, yeah, I guess I need to change that, doesn't it? Stream elements was for those who don't know, I run a Dungeons and Dragons Star Trek Adventures. It's basically Dungeons and Dragons with a Star Trek theme. And if you guys come, it's every Sunday, 5 p.m. Central Standard Time, and you can change the outcome of what's occurring. But I have to go in and change that because it doesn't make any sense right now, does it? Nope. So that's what we're going to do. We're going to do that. There we go. Thanks for pointing that out. The Maquis belief of death, destruction, and the pursuit of misery. Of course the Sisko opposed them. Of course he did. Of course he did. Believe it or not, I don't like doing response videos all that much. For a couple of reasons. At least not on Lore Reloaded. That's going to be changing on a different video. On another channel that'll be coming out. Again, if you want more information on that, follow me at twitch.tv/Lore Reloaded, because I'm more setting that up over there. When you get to be a certain level, doing response videos, in my opinion, is either just too much of a headache or irresponsible, depending on what you're doing. I can get into that if you want me to, but I'm pretty sure you guys don't come here for that. Journey's End, one of the worst episodes of Star Trek. Space Indians and Wesley and his special little friend. Yeah, I think it was done pretty poorly. And it just wasn't the same situation. They're trying to make it like it was Trail of Tears. It simply wasn't. It wasn't what happened. What the United States did to the Indians was far worse than what the Federation was attempting. And again, it is a completely different situation because the Federation would have to deal with all this. Love your channel, love Trek, but one of the things I notice as someone from a country that was once a colony is that Starfleet is a lot like the British Empire. People have said that. I have studied United States and British history. I don't, the British East Indian Company. I'm really weak on that, though. I'm not saying you're incorrect. I just don't know enough to really speak to that. It seems kind of like it, though. Are you going to do a Star Trek Online series? I definitely watch. I may. Unless I'm doing ships, people don't like the Star Trek Online series. They don't watch it as much. It's unfortunate, but I'm very niched here. Gabriel Bell is everyone. He is me. He is you. Hi, Laura. I just got here. I think you meant to before, not too far. Sure. I guess. I don't know. Uh, I guess we know. Well, I'm not gonna say that. Yeah, it's sort of the charm and the irritation of the space shows that become space Bretonians. In Star Wars, the bad guys are Brits, and in Star Trek, the Bretonians are the good guys. Well, there you go. People have said that Starfleet is a lot like the British, especially during the 17th, 18th century and stuff like that. Again, just taking your word for it. The Maquis had it coming. Plenty of M-class planets in the Federation space, but they insist on staying on Cardassian planets and fighting a war. Here's my thing, nitpicking nerd, and we've gotten into this before. I do think to prevent stuff like this from happening, if they're going to do it, they should remove them by force, definitively. That said, people who tried to say that the Maquis should just move, I don't think would easily move out of their home if the U.S. government or whatever government said that your house now belonged to the state. And I really don't think that they'd move out of the rooms if another country came in and said, hey, we're taking your land and we're going to give it to our citizens, and so you can get the hell out of here. The frontier is not the inner core of the Federation. It's a lot harder. Survival is not as easy. And so moving and stuff would not be as happy-go-lucky, I think, as people make it out to be. You have to cherry pick Star Trek Online content. So much of it is too disconnected from popular core lore. Yeah, I mean, yeah. I'd agree. Thank you for responding. Have your YouTube issues been resolved? Yes and no. The YouTube issues are better, but it'll be the 21st or 22nd before all issues are completely resolved. And that's when Super Chats should be restored completely. In which I know you guys hate the tip system, so Super Chats are coming back. It's just a matter of time, good friends. I would not want the U.S. government to violate my rights for peace. I agree. I would not want that either. I wonder, what if the Maquis were so oppressed from the Dominion War and before that their children and apologists became a certain subsect and crushed the Federation into the Picard universe? I mean, maybe, I guess. I don't know. I would get the French toast out of town. You would get the French toast out of the town. I'm not saying that you would leave. I mean, I would definitely leave too. If, for instance, if the United States and Russia had a tense standoff, or there was a brief war, and the United States said, "Hey, we're getting." I don't know, what's the fucking random country. Places in Russia. If the United States said, hey, you know what, we're getting Lake Baku, whatever the hell that is, and they're giving Tennessee, we're giving Tennessee to them, I would probably move. I don't want to be in Russian territory as a United States citizens. But I'd probably leave. I could see people staying to fight for it, though. So I don't know. You get more money from Stream Elements, right? I do intend to keep both, but the Super Chats will be restored. Yeah, I get all of the money. Every dime you send me and through Stream Elements, I get every dime of it. If you decide to use Super Chats, Google and YouTube keep 30%. So, yeah, there's that. Oh, it's the deepest lake. The potty mouth admiral in Star Trek Picard should have been Nechayev's actress. Nechayev's actress is still alive. It would have been much better. I'll say this. I don't know that I would want her to stay admiral if they're going to keep that type of character. I don't want Nechayev cursing. I just think that's I don't think that's her character. I don't think that's how Nechayev worked. And so her cursing in Picard, it would have been nice to see her, and I wouldn't have minded them keeping her as an admiral. But don't use the dialogue. What happened to Voyager's Maquis in Picard season 1? I don't understand the question, Chris. What helped to Voyager's Maquis in Picard season 1? Can you rephrase that? Thank you for becoming a gelato enthusiast, Matt. Not all heroes wear capes, good sir. I read today that the U.S. is developing technology to teleport weapons to troops in the field. To me, this means we are developing transporter tech. That would be interesting. The Maquis have no excuse, not in a post-scarcity universe anyway. So Armando, are you saying that just well, first off, it's not completely post-scarcity. On the frontiers, outside of where the Federation has major sway, there is scarcity. There is scarcity in the Bajoran system. There is scarcity on the edges of Federation space. It is only post-scarcity. The closer you get to the Federation core, the closer you get to Earth, the more post-scarcity it is. But not all of it is post-scarcity, right? But let's just assume that there was post-scarcity. Let's say that it was, for argument's sake. Are you saying that being connected to your homeland means nothing? Let's go back to what I was saying beforehand. I'm not mad at you, by the way. This is just having a conversation. Let's go back to what we were saying beforehand. Let's say that, so I was talking about, I don't know if it was here on Twitch, but in Canada, they're having some issues. They want to do the pipeline, and there's an Indian reservation there. The Wadawa, I believe, I don't know. It's some Indian reservation. I'm not sure who. It's an Indian tribe. So you're saying that if they're given enough money or there's post-scarcity, the land means nothing. By that, hi. Okay. By that logic, as long as they give enough money to the indigenous tribes there, you're okay with it. So as long as they give, let's say that every person in that tribe gets $1 million Canadian fun bucks. I don't know what the currency is for it's Canadian fun bucks. Every one of them, every Indian in the tribe gets $1 million fun bucks. No, thank you. Thank you, Vimo. So they get $1 million fun bucks. So it's okay at that point. Because, I mean, basically $1 million fun bucks, someone will live post-scarcity for most of their lives. So the land means nothing. You know what I'm saying? I don't think that gels, you know? I don't know. Well, thanks, Matt. I appreciate it. You guys doing this supports the channel. It keeps the channel going, but never, give more than you can afford, of course. So I really appreciate it. Just watching helps more than you know. It really does. Thank you for the support, by the way. I think people say the Maquis should abandon their homes. Audience forget to empathize with the characters in general on an emotional level. Part of it, I think, is that we never get to identify with the Canadian juice leaders of maple syrup as currency. Oh, Howard, I love you, buddy. You're so awesome. Oh man, what was I even saying? Oh man. We don't see the Maquis enough, so it's a simple math equation for most. It's just a matter of assimilating reality the best way possible. Yeah, I mean, again, I don't necessarily, if you're going to get up there, buddy. I don't necessarily, I think there's logic to what you're saying. It's just if someone wanted to keep their home, I don't necessarily get too out of shape with that. JJ has said this a couple of times, so let me read it. Trail of Tears. The Supreme Court said that the Indians were in the right and that the treaty they had with the U.S. was legal and entitled them to their land. Jackson dared the Supreme Court of the U.S. to enforce it. Yeah, there's a lot of that happened back then. Okay, we good? There was actually the Civil War almost happened a couple of times before the actual United States Civil War has. Dude, I'm busy, buddy. What's the alternative? We go back to war? I mean, yeah, I'm not saying, I don't think it's as black and white as hi. You okay? I don't think it's as black and white as people say. I agree. How many planets and how many lives being displaced is worth war? How much territory is worth war? I also think it's a little bit different In the case of the Federation could quite clearly stomp the Cardassians and chose not to. But I don't know. Hail Pumpkin. Seems I joined at the right moment. You did. Are the Maquis equal to the Firefly Browncoat? They aren't, I don't think. I think they had possibility to be. They actually had the Cardassians on the run. And I think they really did have the ability to be their own nation. They got to... You gonna be okay? They got to... they got too ambitious. I think when the Cardassians were on the run, they should have just let them go, declared their own nation, and started peace conversations with the Federation and with the Cardassians, just like the Bajorans did. Like when the Cardassians left, the Bajorans didn't instantly go after them. The Bajorans, hi, you're gonna hurt yourself, buddy. The Bajorans sued peace and went for the Federation.
JJMFDL tipped $5, $5 for the super cuddly kitty and his therapy bills.
Yeah.
Ghostbusters, whatever you prefer.
I'm hoping to get a few Ghostbusters out this weekend. Yeah, he does this a lot. Keep this up, and you may drive up your numbers to hundreds. Star Trek talks with Lore and his cat. Yeah. Why don't you lay down? Whoa. You okay? You okay? Why don't you lay down? No, just lay down. Don't go crazy. Just lay down. All right. None of those are as ironic or entertaining as the Q as the Federation. Imagine if Data's brother Lore had a pet. It'd be like he had like a dog or like a snake or something. Why am I wearing you like a shoal right now? No. Stay up. All right, yeah, y'all are becoming widely entertained. What are you doing? This is really weird. Why do you do this in front of our friends? We could have had this conversation before. I think what it is, I got him some bargain basement food, and I think he's mad at me because of that. I think he's trying to get me to go get him the good stuff. Why don't you sit down? Sit down. No, sit down. Do not pull an Alinity. Oh my God, Alinity is one of the worst human beings on the face of the earth. I hate her. For those who don't know, there's a Twitch streamer by the name of Alinity. She drank some whiskey or some alcohol and then spit it into her cat's mouth. I don't and still for some reason has not been banned from Twitch. Is just like, say what you will about YouTube, but Twitch is just horrible. What if Picard clone is Eric Soon's research on Earth? What if? Okay. I think he's trying to drive up your views so you spare more money his way. You were right. Yeah, he does not like the new food. And since then, he's been a lot more cuddly. I think he really wants to make it. But he's going to have to eat that food for right now. He once, he looked at it for 10 minutes. What was 600 people? What are you talking about? She did throw her cat in the air, too, right behind her. It was the Baku versus the Baku. Isn't that an internal matter? I don't know what you're talking about, Jose Jesus. You mean in Nemesis when... not Nemesis. Thanks for joining, Sean. What was it called? It wasn't Nemesis. It was... And it wasn't First Contact, for sure. I'm doing a review on First Contact. Oh, man, what the hell was it called? It wasn't Generations. Whatever, that Star Trek movie with the Baku. Them moving the Baku... that is an interesting way of... that was an interesting situation. And I forget. I'd have to rewatch, but Insurrection. Was the Baku, first off, in Federation space? I think they were, and I think they were Federation colonists, weren't they? Because if they weren't, I don't think the Federation has any kind of stance. So here's the one thing, and again, you guys let me know because it's been a while. An insurrection, was that in Federation space, and were they Federation citizens? If the answer to one of those is no, then Starfleet, what Starfleet is, necessitates them not doing it. Laura, careful insulting your fellow Twitch streamers. They can get you banned off Twitch. Well, I'm not big enough on Twitch for that really to matter. The fact that Twitch can go to another platform and take me down because they didn't like what I said is one of the reasons Twitch will never be a mainstay for me. Ever. At all. I'm going to do a breakdown of the Ghostbusters. I am. It's fully funded at this point. I will be doing a breakdown of the Ghostbusters. The real Ghostbusters. Alinity was banned for showing her body part. Yeah, but she wasn't banned for animal abuse, so, you know. Briar Patch was in Federation space, but they weren't citizens. If the Briar Patch was in Federation space, but they weren't citizens, I don't think that the Federation or Starfleet has a right to move them, and I don't think that Starfleet should, based on what Starfleet is. Starfleet is this idealized organization that doesn't do stuff like that they find other ways. And so I think that would have been, they shouldn't have done that then. I think that goes against what Starfleet stands for, even at the detriment of millions. In a different timeline, I'm huge on Twitch. Yeah, in a different timeline, I'm huge on Twitch and also married to Alinity. So, I mean, my life could be a lot worse, right? Than it is right now, because I don't want that timeline. I'd rather not be with someone who abuses animals. I'll stay a single dad who will never make millions if it means I don't have to be with someone who abuses animals. Not a person of color in the Baku, nitpicking. I love you, buddy. Stream Elements keep spamming the same message. So thirsty. It should only do it like once every 30 minutes. If you're getting spammed, let me know. Adema Dark Render says that isn't the Federation. What do you mean, what isn't the Federation? Forcing their ideals like that? Gotta go now, DS908. Talk to you later, Matt. Thanks for coming by, buddy. Last time I checked, I thought the Baku were from the insurrection. They are, Carl. Not my opinion, but I have a friend who believes Sisko's actions and for the uniform counts as genocide against the Maquis. Is that a bold take? I don't think he attempted to genocide the Maquis. I do think it is they weren't at war, so it may not have been a war crime, but I think it was whatever the equivalent of a war crime is what I think it is. He used biogenic weapons that would destroy entire species on a colony. If one thing goes wrong on that, people are going to die. If one transport isn't able to get out of atmosphere, if one family doesn't realize, maybe people are sleeping and don't have the emergency systems on. Sean Lake, you can leave a tip if you go into the description, click on that link and you can leave a tip that way. So it's as close to a war crime as you can get. That's just talking about the biogenic weapons used. He used quantum torpedoes. Quantum torpedoes are designed to defeat the Borg. They're used to kill Borg ships. You know, those cubes that nothing destroys them. The quantum torpedoes were specifically designed to do damage to something that can't be damaged, and he detonated it right above a colony. Depending on what you want to believe, the quantum torpedo did anywhere from 25 megatons to over 100 megatons. Megatons.
$5. Ghostbusters 2016 received criticism for being woke. How would you cast different? Make it less woke? Or was it woke? Did a female-dominated cast make it woke?
Let me finish this up. The quantum torpedoes were designed to kill, and they could, again, do anywhere from 25 megatons to 100 megatons. That is millions, by the way. Millions of TNT. And he did it right above a colony. Yeah, he did something very very bad. As for the Ghostbusters, wow, Lori ASMR. Um, I don't think it was genocide, but I think it was definitely it was something horrific. Um, the Ghostbusters 2016 thing. The reason why I think Ghostbusters 2016 was quote unquote woke or was done in a very toxic way. I think it was a very far left toxic movie. The reason why is because how they decided to go about doing it. They wanted to empower women. That's not necessarily a bad thing, but they did it in a way, first off, at the expense of males in some instances, and then just to an unreasonable degree. I wouldn't have. I don't. I don't mind the actresses they did. The way I would have done it is if I was to rewrite it, I would still keep an all female cast. I don't think there's anything wrong with that. But I would have rewritten it in a way where ever since the Ghostbusters, an entire organization around the Ghostbusters had made, like an international organization. And they would go all around using it. And then you would have the four main cast who could either be daughters or related or somehow were the progeny of the original Ghostbusters. And during an operation to get a ghost, all of the equipment shuts down. And it shuts down across the map. Everything stops working. And so the equipment they had would be advanced versus what the old Ghostbusters used to have. I mean, you were talking tech out the nines, and all of that would just completely stop. And then the crew or the cast, the new Ghostbusters, would reach out to the old Ghostbusters and have to get their old technology, and they'd get the original like packs and whatever because they weren't connected to this new system, and they would then use that to win the day. And the big bad would somehow be related to the big bad of the original movies. If I was writing it, that's how I would have done it. I would have you had to go back to your roots type thing. SC, either you are deaf, so F in the chat, because either SC it doesn't understand basic English, or has went deaf, because at no point did I say it was bad because of the leads. So that in fact I even said that female cast was good. So F in the chat for the SC. Terran unpredictability, Vulcan paranoia, and Dorian militarism and Tellarite aggression. How did they even become a peaceful coalition? Because the humans are good at building communities, which is what Star Trek has always been talking about, as well as Babylon 5. Maybe a new class of starship able to navigate through a deadly wormhole, and inside the wormhole at the other end is a as of yet unknown layer of space. Okay. I don't know what you're talking about, Aurora, but I'm down with it. They all had to unite against the Romulans. If not for the Romulans, the Federation. I think they were on their way, but the Romulans definitely pushed them in there. Ironically, the Romulans' attempt to keep them all apart is push them together. I think they were already on their way, but, you know. Sisko can't be racist against the Maquis. The Maquis were not a subset of humanity. They were a political terrorist group. I would agree that Sisko could not be racist against the Maquis, but you can be bigoted against an ideology. You can be whatever the equivalent of racism is against a specific ideology. And I believe that he is specifically that. He would be 2016, and you still couldn't have a Hispanic or Asian Ghostbuster in New York City. I mean, again, I don't care. Has the topic changed? It's always changing. Oh, just spitting out ideas for potential Star Trek films. Gotcha, Aurora. Would Janeway have tried? What Janeway tried to do to the Borg and Voyager finale count as genocide? Well, SC again showing how unintelligent, or how he just jumps to conclusions. What Janeway? Yes, I guess. I would argue that is self-defense, though, honestly. Janeway most likely attempted to genocide all of the Borg. Um, yeah, I would say that would be genocide. I say that's different, though. 25 to 100 megaton blast in the upper atmosphere. Do you think the shockwave hit the colony? Yes, I think the shockwave would have destroyed the the colony. Uh, I wonder if SC just doesn't like giving me a hard time saying stuff like that. Would you say Voyager was pro-women with Jerry Ryan and Kate Mulgrew? I will say this. I think that when they were on it in writing Kate Mulgrew in Janeway, I think she's one of the best captains ever. Like, when she's written well, when she is, like, just 100% there, she is just epically good. I just don't think that that was the norm for her. Romulans tried preventing the Federation, as well as the U.S. tried to keep third world countries from becoming communist. Okay. Howard responding to me, but that's not racist. I hate how people just use it as a blanket term. It dilutes the meaning. I would actually agree with that, Howard. I think that you need to call something what it is to consistently have the term have meaning. One of the reasons why I don't like, that's one of the reasons I hate when people call anything liberal or anything left-leaning or anything that is feminist social justice warrior tactics, or if you call every conservative a Nazi. Because I do believe there are far leftists that do go too far with id politics and everything. And I do think that there are, I wouldn't say Nazis, but I do think there are people who are basically Nazis, as well as white nationalists. And by calling everybody that, you dilute it to an unreasonable degree. As long as you accept some of the people on Maquis planets were civilians, then Sisko literally committed a crime against humanity with the use of a weapon. Yes, Hyperjack. First off, I think there's a very good argument that some of those colonies had civilians on it. It is almost completely impossible that the colonies were just full to the brim with terrorists, unless you are saying, that that all of the colonies were now Maquis, and you're recognizing that a new nation has been born. But I think it would be very hard to say every one of the colonies were Maquis terrorists. Every one of them. And even if they were. So tell me, in the real world, when there is a city that, even if there was a city that was complete, we know 100% terrorists, any major country that bombs it into the Stone Age gets bad press. They actually, it's in canon material too. There were whales and dolphins on the Enterprise in canon. Enterprise Z in canon. I don't think they had those officers, but they kept them just because of the probe. Thank you for the support, by the way. Hey, Lore Reloaded. On the Maquis world that Sisko bombed without informing Starfleet, were they all Maquis? That's what we're having a conversation about, Dave Sharma. It depends on what you mean by Maquis. Do you mean terrorists or do you mean colonists? Because colonists have been called Maquis. Terrorists have been called Maquis. Again, even if the planet was entirely made of nothing but terrorists, using a weapon that is anywhere from 25 to 100 megatons, more than what we did to Hiroshima, and attached to that weapon of mass nuclear devastation, you have chemicals that will make it so that every living thing will die if it stays down there, is a crime against humanity. You cannot sit there and tell me there is no way that is not the case. It's just again beyond, like, and again, this is the idea. I'm more going after the idea, not the person. So nobody take this personal, but the idea of how it was okay to attack a Maquis planet is beyond me. It is absolutely, there is no real world equivalent that seems at any point good. Wholesale attacking uh wholesale attacking um wholesale attacking a city or a country, even if every person in that is just I don't see it. I don't think it is. What I meant was Maquis fighters and sympathizers. Well, sure, Dave. I mean, no matter how we look at it, I'm not convinced that all of them were Maquis sympathizers either. I think there were colonists down there. But even if we assumed it, any theory as to whoever sent the well probe never showed up again? Honestly, don't know. I've never really cracked that nut. That's an interesting. We never even see what happened to the probe either, did we? Enterprise D had Citation Ops in the episode Yesterday's Enterprise, but since it was reset at the end of the episode, does that count? Yeah, I don't know. SC, while I do have friends in the Fandom Menace, you are very much aware that a lot of the Fandom Menace hate me, right? Like the bulwark of the Fandom Menace, Midnight's Edge, most of the people on there are not fans of me, like in the slightest. We know anyone else who left the Federation? They get too harassed by Starfleet or anything like that. It was the Federation obsession to make. I don't know that we know of anyone that left else that would left. Maybe. I don't know. I'd have to think about that. What if I had a plan? Sisko bombed the world, knowing that the colonists were prepared to evacuate. Even if the colonists were prepared to evacuate, accidents happen. Like right before that, they warn the colony. They tell the colony, hey, we're about to bomb you into oblivion. You guys need to get out of the way. Because as you guys know, in the real world, when certain superpowers tell third world country cities, hey, there are people in your city we don't like and we're going to bomb it into existence, so you might want to get out of town. That goes over well. The superpower is just considered the best, the best on the world. There is no criticism for that because they warned them ahead of time. So just like that, in Star Trek, when Sisko goes out of his way to warn them, we still assume, because we know that none of them started evacuations until after the attack, we still assume that every one of those evacuation transports got off the ground. Just what someone else said, we're assuming there isn't somebody with his daughter on the opposite side of the planet with no way of contacting anybody sitting there fishing. We're assuming that doesn't happen either. What's going on, Tazara? Hope you're doing well, good buddy. By the way, if you guys who are liking the First Contact movie review, it is completely because of Tazara. Tazara is a patron who single-handedly funded First Contact. We never saw the mirror universe Sisko die. He just disappeared, and suddenly our Sisko had a beard and became evil. They do say he actually was killed, but it could have been like a Lorca situation. I never considered that, but it could have been Lorca. They do say that he died, though. And that's why the prophet said he has changed, says M. Riches. That's why the prophet said he has changed. Indeed. Hey, Tazara, I was going to send you a message back. This was the last month. It's been fully funded now. So I am going to move to another one. If you want to let me know what movie you'd like to fund, we'll start doing that. Or I can just pick one. Problem is, the Maquis were not a state by law, so it could not be a war crime, because only nations can be in war. So the Maquis combatants, or the difference or civs, also aren't protected by the law of war. Okay, so as I said, it can be as close to a war crime without actually being it, a crime against humanity or whatever you want to call it. You can't tell me that as long as you're not in a war, it's okay to bomb, it's okay to nuke a city and have chemical weapons attached to it. As long as you're not in a war with them, even if it's a terrorist state or a terrorist city or whatever, that is not allowed, I'm pretty sure, according to international law. And I'm pretty sure it would be the same in Star Trek. I would be very I'd be very surprised if it didn't hold true. Literally, Sisko did the same thing that a villain would do, but because it was Sisko, it's okay. Cosmosian life form. I'm not sure what a Cosmosian life form is. I want to see Pirate Mirror Universe Picard with a beard, an eye patch, and a Romulan warbird called the Enterprise. I want to see that too. We were told the evacuations were underway. We assumed they all got off, but were never implicitly told. That is true. That is true. You can commit war crimes against civilians and terrorists. Yeah, I mean, war crime, I don't know what to call it. But what I do know is that it is like on a mass scale and somebody would go to jail for a long time. Hey, Laura, in your opinion, was Bones racist against Vulcans? Initially, so let me say this. Initially, I think Bones was like your grandpa that didn't hate anybody but kept some old opinions. But at the end, I think that his interactions with Spock, I think them going back and forth was basically them becoming brothers in a way at the end of the day. I think JJ Verse did it really, really well when Spock was dying and their interaction together. And that's the way I really think of the two. I think maybe initially he had issues with Vulcans, but their friendship grew into almost like a brothership bond, you know? I mean, hey, he gave him fair warning, and as well as I said, okay, Sky Marshal, let's have this conversation, Sky. Let's do it, good buddy. I mean, hey, he gave them fair warning, and as well as I said in the last live stream, Sisko was in the right. The Maquis were a terrorist group that basically lost their victim card as they killed civvies. You know what? If one or two or three Maquis kill civilians, then I guess we gotta destroy all of them. We gotta kill all of them. Just like what happened in World War II when the Germans attacked. The Allies decided, we're going to kill every German on God's green earth. And that was specifically, in fact, that was one of the most famous speeches by Roosevelt and Churchill. They, in fact, did it. They did a play that was. It was a musical, and they discussed how since a certain subsect of people of an organization decided to do war and commit acts, just most god awful acts that humanity had ever seen, every one of them. And that's why there are no more German people because of that rationale. So I mean, it's just history, So it's just what happened. Different races have been called subhuman throughout history. Anything similar in Star Trek? The Vulcans were considered. There was a lot of bigotry towards the Vulcans in the original series. It was inconsistent, but there was a lot of animosity towards Vulcans. And I think Enterprise did a good way of showing why that animosity existed. Romulans were looked down upon both in The Next Generation as well as Star Trek Picard. It'll be great. I have there's a German Trekkie, and then there's another follower who is a part of the German military. Oh man, it'd be funny if either of them were listening right now. The U.S. warned Japan cities they were going to drop the atomic bomb with destruction never before seen potential. Look how that turned out. Yeah, even if everyone takes it seriously, some won't make it out. I agree. I never knew. I never knew that they warned them. I knew that there was warning before, but I never knew they warned them. Yeah, me and Sky Marshall just disagree. I know I do it hyperbolic. I think Sky Marshall has been here before, so he knows my humor. But that is something I think we just disagree on. The planet was poisoned, but for 50 years, only temporary, and it was not like the Maquis traders could not turn themselves into Starfleet. Yeah, but if they can't get off the planet, then they won't need to do that, I guess? What was that one? Uh, did the U.S. warn about the atomic bomb? See, that blew my mind. Did the United States warn Japan about the atomic bomb? There's never. Let me see. Leaflets warning the August 6, 1945. Leaflets warning Japanese of atomic bomb. Leaflets dropped on cities in Japan warning civilians. August 6, 1945. Looks like maybe the original bomb wasn't done, but then they did it afterwards. Well, that's interesting. I didn't know that. Yeah, I was about to ask you about that White Weasel, about what White Weasel said was wrong. In TNG, Dave said the racism, racial profiling was the last big vice humanity overcame, so I believe Bones and humanity was still struggling with it. I'd agree with that, I think. Well, they said that they overcame it, but I think there was prejudice. I think there was. It wasn't to the extent, though. Well, it wasn't a great warning from what I understand. They dropped leaflets from planes on a variety of cities and did some conventional bombing. I don't want to get into history too much. But I would say that my understanding, I don't know how true this is, but I think Hiroshima may have been chosen because of the weather. Like they had another city they were thinking about doing, and then moved to Hiroshima because of the weather. How much bad luck does that take? I don't want to get into it too much, but that's what I've heard. That could be wrong. Yeah, like I said earlier, genocide was against the Maquis would be a stretch, but I'd certainly have Siskos, but for court-martialed for multiple reasons. Yeah. Here's the thing. I'll say this. I don't necessarily like some of the policies the Allies use, though I can understand it. The Allies, especially when the Germans were still a threat, bombed the living hell out of some civilian cities that were industrial hubs. Uh, I don't I don't necessarily agree with that, but I don't know a good counter for it either. Another one, there was a superstructure by the Germans that was a base for like their submarines that no bomb could get through. I mean, it was just like this massive superstructure that had been designed in a way that it just couldn't be bombed. And so what the Allies did is they bombed every city around it and they starved them out. Can't say I'm a huge fan of that. I don't necessarily want to get into it all that much, but it's interesting. World War II on both sides was interesting. Hey, Laura, what's your opinion on Pulaski's treatment of Data? Was she right? She was. Yeah, absolutely. Pulaski, I don't like using the term Karen. I'm going to be honest with you. I think that's getting to a point that I personally just don't like using the term Karen. But I will say that she was definitively a racist and one of the worst characters on God's green earth. She treated a sentient being as if they were nothing, and she paid no penalty for it. And I think that she should not have been a part of the Enterprise crew. It's not a fair comparison because those were 20th century humans, not evolved Federation humans. I'm not trying to compare them, Sean. I was just saying, I mean, unless you're talking about an earlier conversation. In your opinion, how much of a gross violation of the Prime Directive did Janeway commit in Caretaker? I never really thought of it. I'm going to be honest with you. The destruction of Caretaker. That would be a Prime Directive violation, wouldn't it? I don't know. That's a good point. I never really thought about it. You could maybe argue that it was to prevent the what the hell were they? What the hell species that needed water, so they couldn't attack the Alpha Quadrant. But that seems like a stretch. I'm gonna have to think on that. It's true, one of the bomb locations was chosen for the weather. There was a man living in Nagasaki when the bomb dropped, then went to Hiroshima after to recover. Really? That's crazy. One of the most effective ways to win a war is to take away the enemy's ability to make war. I don't disagree. It's still unfortunate. Speciest, says Macy's. Speciest. Okay, Aurora. I may take a look at that. Can I go to your channel? Aurora, send me a link to james@lorereloaded.com, and I may take a look at it. Caretaker would have been destroyed if they had not caused the ship to ram into it, would it not? Yeah, I mean that's an interesting piece. I think that I'll have to rewatch it. I really will. I'd have to rewatch it. I really will. But based on what I remember, it seems like a Prime Directive violation. If you survived both nuclear bombs, I don't know how you wouldn't think that you were chosen by God to do something great. All the humanoids in Star Trek are the same species since they can breed with each other. Okay. It's hard for them to breed, though. The humans, it's very rare for Klingons and humans to breed together. Not sure if you noticed, but you used the wrong two. Yeah, Ben, I actually commented on that earlier. Maybe a time-traveling Ferengi who's altering the timeline of the Vulcans, and the Vulcan crew who went to stop him says that. It turns out it was destined to happen all along. Live long and prosper. Headcanon accepted. All right, we're going to be ending this very shortly. Anything else you guys want to talk about or get into or break down, good friends? I'm going to give it a couple more seconds, and then we'd be outie. Outie like the 4th of July. Outie. I will say this, talk about World War II is controversial, but from my own look into research, World War II was an apocalyptic war. Situations were grim. Yeah, I'd agree. I think the Federation's absolute obsession with peace is very flawed. They give up entire planets and colonies to the weaker and inferior enemy, left behind their people, then mark them terrorists. I would agree with that, actually. I'm not drunk, not right now. I will be one day, though. Was it you who recommended the Delta Flyers podcast? It hosted by Garrett Wing and Duncan. I don't generally actively do that, but if someone asked me about it, I'd tell them to listen to it. I think it's pretty good. I agree. He scratched her hand and she gave birth to Alexander a year ago. What the hell are we talking about? I wonder if the Romulan Republic is likely to join canon. The Romulan Republic is it's not the Romulan Republic, it's the Romulan Free State right now. Greed is eternal. Me, but you're not. Also me kills the villain. Okay. Starfleet says, hi, welcome to the Federation. Please enjoy the reception. They are similar to that, aren't they? Guys, thanks so much for watching. Don't forget to rate, comment, and subscribe. If you want to help out the channel, check out the description. You can still, in fact, tip after this goes down. Of course, it won't show because it's not live anymore. Hope you guys have a great night. I got a video coming up tomorrow and more live streams. Check me out, twitch.tv/Lore Reloaded. I'm actually doing stuff there, and you get kind of a view into what is coming. Talk to you guys later.